Ever wonder why your growth unsettles her? You start improving yourself. You hit the gym, think deeper, speak slower, move with more intention. You're no longer reactive. You don't chase her moods. You're grounded in a quiet kind of power. And suddenly, something shifts. She looks at you differently, not always in admiration, sometimes in confusion, or even discomfort. It's subtle. The playful texts slow down. The conversations that once flowed now feel guarded. She starts testing your responses, looking for the version of you she once knew, the one who used to seek her reassurance, who moved his world around hers. But that man is dissolving. And what she feels, that tension, isn't rejection, it's recognition. Because deep down, she senses that you've stepped into something she can't fully control. You've become unpredictable, not chaotic, but free. And freedom always shakes those who built comfort around your conformity. Your growth doesn't just challenge the perception of you, it threatens her perception of herself. Every new boundary you set, every new silence you master, holds up a mirror to her own stagnation. It's not cruelty, it's contrast. The truth? When you evolve, not everyone will clap. Some will flinch, some will question. But remember this: their discomfort is not your cue to shrink. It's your proof that transformation has begun. Growth changes the gravitational field of your life. Some people will orbit closer. Others will drift away. Enter Heraclitus, the ancient Greek philosopher who saw life not as a fixed structure, but as a river in constant motion. He believed that change isn't something that happens to us, it's what we are. His most famous line, "No man ever steps in the same river twice," wasn't about water at all. It was about identity, about how the very act of being alive means being in motion. Heraclitus saw reality as a tension of opposites: fire and form, chaos and order, love and distance. And it's within that tension that growth happens. He called this hidden pattern the logos, the rhythm of becoming that governs everything, even when we resist it. In relationships, this truth is magnified. We try to hold on to moments, to people, to the versions of love that once made sense. We crave permanence, but life refuses to grant it. And that refusal, that natural resistance, is where most pain begins. When you grow, when you start stepping out of your old patterns, you're not just changing yourself, you're changing the river that others once learned to swim in. The current shifts, and not everyone knows how to float with it. Heraclitus would say that fear is the most natural response to evolution, because transformation doesn't only reshape your habits, it destabilizes the illusions people built around who you were. And here's the paradox. We say we want authenticity, but we cling to familiarity. We crave evolution, but we mourn what it destroys. Your growth reminds the world that nothing, not love, not desire, not even identity, is stable. And that's terrifying to those who find safety in predictability. But to Heraclitus, that terror is sacred, because it's proof that you're alive in the flow, not clinging to the banks of the river, but surrendering to its motion. He'd remind you that love too is fluid. It changes shape as you do. Sometimes it expands, sometimes it evaporates. But its truth isn't in how tightly you hold it. It's in how deeply you move with it. To resist change is to deny life itself. To embrace it, even when it costs you comfort, is to touch something divine. Heraclitus didn't promise peace through stillness. He promised strength through motion. And that's the art most people never learn. How to stay grounded in the self, even as everything and everyone around you begins to shift.
Change is the ultimate test of attraction. When you begin to evolve,
When your energy shifts from seeking to becoming, it disrupts the silent equilibrium that relationships often depend on. Most people don't realize this. Attraction isn't only built on chemistry, it's built on familiar tension. When that tension changes, so does the dynamic. Think about it. At the start, she was drawn to your potential, to the mystery of who you might be. But potential is magnetic precisely because it's uncertain. It leaves space for fantasy, for projection. Once you start becoming the person you hinted at, the story she wrote about you begins to die. And that's where the paradox begins. Your evolution can awaken admiration and anxiety at the same time. Change reminds people that they cannot control you, and that is both terrifying and seductive. Because the moment you rise above your old patterns, stop reacting the way you used to, start setting new boundaries, start speaking less and moving with purpose, something shifts in the air. Your silence becomes louder than your explanations. Your composure becomes a mirror, reflecting her own insecurities back at her. This is the dual nature of transformation. It invites desire through mystery, but provokes fear through uncertainty. You've stopped being predictable, and predictability is what most people mistake for safety. Heraclitus would say that attraction, like life, is a dance between stability and flux. Too much stability, and the flame dies. Too much chaos, and the connection burns out. Real growth doesn't eliminate attraction, it purifies it. It burns away the dependency, the performance, the need for validation. What remains is something quieter, stronger, rarer. You see, when you change, you're no longer seeking approval. You're radiating self-direction. An energy like that redefines the emotional economy of the relationship. The person who once felt they had the upper hand now senses a shift. They feel the gravity reversing, and they don't always like it. Because change forces others to confront their own stagnation. It's not just your evolution that unnerves them, it's the realization that they've stayed the same. This is why your growth can trigger distance. The other person might retreat, not because they stopped caring, but because they no longer know how to relate to the new you. They can't find the familiar handle to hold. But here's a twist. That distance is often where a deeper kind of attraction is born, one that isn't based on comfort, but on curiosity. When you stop performing, you create space for authenticity. And in that space, the people meant for you will step closer, not because they need to control you, but because they recognize your strength. Change filters the field. It separates infatuation from connection, illusion from recognition. It tests whether someone is drawn to your essence or merely attached to your consistency. So don't fear the discomfort that comes when your evolution shifts the emotional balance. That unease is proof of growth, yours and theirs. Remember, you can't evolve and stay familiar at the same time. The cost of becoming is always misunderstanding. But what you gain, sovereignty, presence, magnetic calm, makes you far more powerful than the version of you who used to chase acceptance. Change doesn't destroy attraction, it refines it. Because in a world addicted to repetition, the person who dares to evolve becomes the rarest kind of gravity there is. You know it. That strange chill that creeps in when you start changing. You begin to pull away from old habits, speak with more certainty, say no without explaining, and suddenly the dynamic shifts. Where there was once easy affection, there's hesitation. She looks at you differently. Her eyes narrow, her tone changes, softer some days, distant on others. You can feel her studying you, trying to locate the version of you she once understood. You wonder if you've done something wrong. You haven't. You've simply outgrown the version of yourself that once fit her comfort zone. Maybe you've stopped reacting to emotional bait. Maybe you've stopped oversharing. or needing reassurance. The space you create by evolving feels like rejection to those who relied on your old patterns. But deep down, you also sense something else: curiosity. She's drawn to your new calm. Your restraint unsettles her, but it also intrigues her. The very thing that scares her, your growing independence, is what quietly pulls her closer. It's confusing, isn't it? The closer you get to your truth, the more unpredictable everything feels. Yet, that tension, that mix of fear and fascination, is where real attraction lives. You're not losing connection. You're redefining it. You're learning that the moment you stop chasing approval, people start feeling your gravity. And that's the moment attraction shifts from emotional dependence to respect. Change is both the death and the rebirth of attraction. It's what draws two people together and what threatens to tear them apart. Because in truth, love doesn't just connect us to another person, it connects us to our own image in their eyes. And when you evolve, that image begins to crack. Heraclitus said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." The moment you begin to grow, the river changes, and so do you. But here's the paradox. She's drawn to the current even as she fears it. Your movement awakens something she can't control, the reminder that nothing stays still, not even desire. In relationships, we crave both safety and mystery. Too much safety becomes dull. Too much mystery becomes chaos. When you change, when you start owning your time, your silence, your self-respect, you disturb that fragile balance. She feels both the loss of predictability and the thrill of your evolution. It's not that she wants you static, it's that your transformation forces her to confront her own, and that's uncomfortable. Because your new boundaries quietly ask, will she rise with you or stay where she is? Most people confuse comfort with love, but comfort is the slow death of passion. True connection demands movement, two people learning to meet each other anew, again and again. So when your growth unsettles her, don't shrink back. Don't apologize for changing. Understand the deeper truth. Your evolution is not a threat to love. It's the test of it. If it's real, it adapts. If it's fragile, it fractures. And that's the beauty of change. It reveals what was built on illusion and what's strong enough to flow with you. Change is the ultimate filter. It reveals who is aligned with your growth and who was only comfortable with your stagnation. Most people mistake harmony for peace, but often that harmony is just control wearing perfume. When you stop playing the familiar role, the script collapses. That's when truth enters. The practical lesson here isn't to harden or to detach. It's to stay centered as you evolve. You must allow your transformation without performing it. Growth doesn't need to be announced. It needs to be embodied. Start with awareness. Every time you feel resistance from her, from others, or from yourself, pause and ask, what identity is being threatened? Because behind every emotional pushback lies a subtle negotiation of power. When you become more independent, more self-assured, more purpose-driven, you're no longer feeding the old emotional economy. You stop giving away your validation for free. Next, practice stillness in your interactions. You don't need to defend your evolution. Let your silence communicate what your words can't. People will either adapt to your new rhythm or fade from it. Both are forms of alignment. Then, build rituals that reinforce your autonomy. It could be as simple as spending time alone without your phone, taking walks without music, or journaling your internal shifts. These quiet acts rewire your nervous system away from dependence and back toward sovereignty. Understand this. When you change, you're not just rewriting your story, you're rewriting the energetic contract between you and the world. The people who truly see you won't try to pull you back. They'll find their own way to rise beside you. And when she resists your growth, when she becomes distant, confused, or defensive, don't interpret that as rejection. See it as fear. She's witnessing the death of an identity she once relied on. The man she knew is becoming someone new. Whether she joins him is not yours to decide. The paradox of attraction is this: you can't inspire it by chasing or proving. You inspire it by becoming. The more you lean into your own evolution, the more magnetic you become. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're grounded in motion, not need. Let your change speak louder than your reassurance. Be gentle, but firm in your becoming. Those who can't meet you in your new space will drift, and those who can will deepen. Growth isn't betrayal. It's the purest form of loyalty to truth, to vitality, to the self that refuses to remain small. When you finally stop apologizing for your evolution, something profound happens. The world rearranges itself around your authenticity. The people who once anchored you in their comfort zones begin to drift, and the ones who match your new frequency start appearing. This isn't coincidence, it's resonance. The shift isn't about becoming colder or untouchable. It's about embodying quiet certainty. You begin to move differently. Your words carry less desperation and more direction. You stop needing to convince anyone to understand you because you've learned to understand yourself. In relationships, this shift feels like gravity reversing. You no longer orbit around someone else's approval. You become your own center of gravity. And paradoxically, this is when you become most magnetic, because you no longer need to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. This is the point where fear turns into fuel. The anxiety that once made you cling now drives your expansion. The silence that used to feel like rejection becomes sanctuary. Every space she withdraws into is a mirror asking, will you still hold yourself here? And when you do, when you refuse to abandon your path to shrink for someone else's comfort, you begin to radiate something few people ever touch: depth. The kind of depth that doesn't beg to be seen, but cannot be ignored. That's the true identity shift. You stop reacting to fear, hers, yours, or anyone's, and start responding to truth. You stop negotiating your potential for temporary validation. You realize that your power doesn't come from being desired, it comes from being directed. You are no longer a man chasing stability in another. You are the stability. The next time your growth threatens someone, don't shrink. Smile gently. You've simply stepped into a version of yourself that not everyone is meant to meet. The man who keeps evolving without fear isn't chasing love anymore. He's becoming it. If this spoke to you, if you felt that quiet ache of growing faster than the people around you, then remember, it's not loneliness, it's alignment. You're not losing people, you're finding your edges. Growth has a strange rhythm. It doesn't always feel like winning. Sometimes it feels like being misunderstood, isolated, or even resented. But that's the cost of becoming real in a world addicted to the familiar. Don't apologize for that. Don't dim it. Because every time you honor your own evolution, you teach others that it's possible to live without permission. You become proof that transformation doesn't destroy love, it purifies it. It shows who's willing to dance with your becoming and who only loved your stillness. If this hits something deep, that place between pain and power, then you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to Psyche Unmasked for more explorations of human depth, where philosophy meets emotion and love meets growth. And if you've ever felt torn between who you were and who you're becoming, know this: the fear means you're crossing a threshold. Change doesn't end love, it tests its truth. So breathe. Keep evolving, even if it unsettles her, especially if it unsettles her. Because the man who keeps growing doesn't lose love. He outgrows imitation.